Good afternoon. It's 5:30 in the p.m. This is your host, and you can tell that I'm coming straight from Hawaii. Well, I'm not coming from Hawaii, but I am coming from the Senior Citizen Building on West Washington Boulevard, which is one of the nicest buildings, especially a public housing building that you would find anywhere in the United States of America. And while there, I had an opportunity to hobnob with Mr. Eugene Jones, who's one of the very best public housing directors in the country. He does an outstanding job as the head of public housing for the city of Chicago. As a matter of fact, we have a new mayor, and oftentimes when new mayors come into office and new political leaders, they will ask people who are in positions like those of Mr. Jones to relinquish. The mayor asked Mr. Jones to stay on. Mr. Jones agreed to stay on. He's doing an outstanding job, and I'm glad that he agreed to stay on. But while there, I also ran into Dr. Willie Wilson. I ran into Alderman Jason Irwin. I ran into City Treasurer Melissa Conyers Irwin. I ran into Commissioner Brandon Johnson of the Cook County Board. I ran into President Tony Preckwinkle. And so a bunch of dignitaries, but most importantly, I ran into residents who live in the building, who were out having themselves a good time. And I don't know that you can ask for much more than that. Of course, they had a great disc jockey who was playing a lot of Tyrone Davis. Those who don't know, Tyrone Davis was one of the great blues singers who lived much of his life on the west side of the city of Chicago. He also lived in Mississippi, and I guess he lived a few other places. But they were playing Mom's Apple Pie and other Tyrone Davis hits. I've always been a fan of Tyrone's and was privileged to personally know him and have a relationship with him. Well, August is moving right along, and I'm going to get to our caller in a minute. But let me mention that lots of things are going on, not only in Chicago, but all over the country. The big issue in this country continues to be immigration and the way immigrants are being treated by the current administration. People are being rounded up in Mississippi and, of course, at their job sites and deported and taken out of the country. They are still holding children at borders and in detention centers in inhumane conditions. You wouldn't believe it, the way that they are treating these children. In some instances, the children are crying. They don't know what's happening to them. They're being separated from their parents. They don't know where their parents are. They don't know if they're going to get back with them or to them. And it's a shame. It's just a downright dirty shame. And I don't like it because it ain't right. It just plain is not right. And we've got to do everything that we can do in terms of doing something about it. I've had a good week. We've done 2 outstanding town hall meetings. I was at one last night in Berwyn, Illinois, and I think 4 or 5 of the city councilmen, trustees, village trustees were there along with the mayor, as well as a number of residents, and we just had ourselves a great discussion. Great discussion about democracy and immigration and what is going on. Night before last, I had a great town hall meeting in Hillside, Illinois, and this was for 2 of the towns there, Hillside and Berkeley. And of course, it was outstanding. I mean, it was just, people make me proud of the fact that I represent such engaged, such involved, such enlightened, and such proactive people. And so I want to thank all of the residents who came out for coming out. We got a big weekend coming up. Of course, tomorrow is Bud Billiken Day. But before that, let me go to the phone and see if our caller is still there.
Yeah, how you doing, Cousin David? Like you said, it's a shame because, like I said once before, a lot of the people who do like I said, they all need God in their life. And look what happened in other cities like Mississippi, Pascagoula, and California, and all that. They be shooting at Walmart. Like I said, those people need to get their time to God, get on their knees and pray to God. And then people should go to church more. I don't know what to say no more, Connie David. And y'all have a good weekend, Connie David.
Well, let me just agree with you, James. Not everybody believe in church and that kind of thing. I do, and I go as much as I can. But I also believe that people who exercise a certain kind of faith, that their faith and values would not allow them to do certain kind of things. I mean, the Bible teaches that he who lives by the sword will die by the sword. The Bible also suggests, as well as other doctrines, do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And those are good ways to be, so if you wouldn't want anybody to gun you down, then don't gun anybody else down. But we got to get rid of these weapons of mass destruction. We've got to stop letting every kind of person have access to these semi-automatic and automatic weapons. I always say that no matter how you think, no matter how much hatred there is in your heart, no matter how much anxiety you may be experiencing, you can't kill up 25 or 30 people with a pencil or a pen. And so if we want to stop some of the violence, we need to stop allowing access to these weapons for all kinds of people who ought not to have them. So, such is life. I want to read something that, I'm going to get an opportunity to do, and then we're just going to open the phone lines and take your calls. But I get a chance to go to all kind of things, and I'm looking forward tomorrow to going to a birthday celebration for a lady who is 108 years old. And I'm going to read what her family have about her and what they've said. It's for a lady named Susie Lewis. Susie Lewis was born August the 11th, 1911, in Helena, Arkansas. Her parents, Horace and Helena Jackson, moved the family to Chicago, Illinois when she was 9 years old. She was the youngest of three girls, and she had one younger brother. She went to Clark Elementary School until she could no longer attend school to care for her sick mother. After her parents passed, she later married and raised her three children: Rudolph Valentino Booth, Constant Lee Cody Henry, and Alan Jerome Lewis on the west side of Chicago. She worked various jobs to provide a stable home for her three children. The lowest wage she ever earned was 25 cents per hour, and she was happier when she worked nights and earned 30 cents per hour. She often speaks of how young people today don't know what hard times really are, and they don't know the value of a dollar. Susie helped to establish the Pilgrim Rest Missionary Baptist Church on the west side under Pastor Matthew Thomas, who was her first cousin, where she served on the usher board for many years. Later in life, Susie moved to the village of Maywood and has been a resident for more than half a century. She currently holds the title of the oldest living resident in Maywood, Illinois, and possibly Proviso Township. In 1970, she joined the Garden of Prayer Missionary Baptist Church of Maywood and later became treasurer of the Mothers Board. She is not as active, but proudly holds the title of the oldest member and mother of the church. When we ask Grandma what her secret is to longevity, she always answers, trust God. Her siblings and children have all passed away, and yet she remains strong and humble. Susie is the proud mama, grandmother, Grandma Sue, Nana, great-granny, G-Ma, Mother Lewis to 6 generations of many loving children. In the words of her neighbor, Reverend Michael Pearson Sr., what a blessing to have lived to see so many generations, to have seen Malcolm, Martin, Thurgood, Ali, Rosa, Fred Hampton, and Oprah, and vote for Obama, to have seen the world change in the course of 100+ years, to have served the Lord, to have loved Him and celebrated Him. Let me get for so many years, God has truly blessed this mighty woman. It is our honor and pleasure to celebrate her on her 108th birthday. And I want to say happy birthday to you, Miss Susie Lewis of Maywood, Illinois. Now we'll just open up our phones, and we know that our viewers always have something to say, something to mention. And so while you're calling in, I am going to be at the Bud Billiken Parade on tomorrow and urge everybody to come out and be a part of it. And of course, next Saturday on the 17th, I am going to host my 40th annual back-to-school picnic and parade in the Austin community. And of course, the parade will kick off at 10 o'clock at Bloomingdale and Central, and the picnic will ensue in Columbus Park beginning at about 1 o'clock until the rest of the day. free book bags, school supplies, hot dogs, watermelon, candy, cookies, ice cream, water, soda pop, entertainment, anything that you want to partake of will be there. We always say that education is the key. And so we urge our young people to get as much education, to study hard, read as much as you can. Study, even the Bible talks about it. Paul said to Timothy, study to show thyself approved. A workman needeth not be ashamed, rightly dividing the word of truth. So we want to have as much fun as we can have. We want to enjoy our young people as much as we can enjoy them. And so I urge you to come on out to the Bud Billiken Parade on tomorrow. And then come on out to our annual back to school picnic and parade on August the 17th. Isn't it wonderful to be alive and to be able to experience somebody like Miss Susie Lewis, 108 years old. You can't beat that with the stick. And I want to thank President Vernell Givens for inviting me to this outstanding event that we celebrated a little earlier today at 3916 West Washington Boulevard. I just had a wonderful time, and I'm so delighted to have known people that Miss Lewis knew. My wife's aunt, Hattie, happened to also be one of the 14 members who were with Reverend Matthew Thomas when he founded Pilgrim Rest Church. And she passed about 10 years ago. And so I'm sure that she probably knew Mrs. Lewis and Hattie sang in that Jubilee choir that they had for seniors. And so I just say God bless all those folks over at the Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church, where they've had some wonderful, wonderful pastors. And the current pastor, who's also a great singer, I just like going there because when I do, I enjoy myself so much. And I know there are some people who suggest that, politicians go to these churches because they're campaigning and politicking. Well, let me tell you, I was going to these churches long before I ever ran for any kind of office or even thought about running for any kind of office. And they're just good places to go, good places to be. And I'm delighted that they exist in our community. A lot of people are trying to figure out what can they do about violence and what can we do to try and stop it or reduce it. We had these mass shootings in Dayton, Ohio and El Paso, Texas. And of course, we have mass shootings almost every weekend in Chicago. There aren't as many of them, perhaps, but we have them. And on Thursday of next week, a group of us, ministers, social service directors, citizens, anti-violence groups, educators. We're going to have a press conference at the Greater Open Door Church at 10 o'clock. And all of us are going to come and bring our thoughts about what you can do to try to reduce violence in our communities. Whatever it is that you think we can do, please, we would urge you to let us know. You can actually call my office and just tell us, what do you think we can do to reduce violence? My number is 773-533-7520. If you think we can do something that will be helpful in reducing violence, please call us and let us know. Just give us a call and let us know. Because we're going to try to make that happen. Whatever it is, we're going to try to help get the government and foundations and other people to put money into the effort to try to reduce violence and keep our people from killing each other every weekend or whenever. Tomorrow, again, Bud Billiken, more than 90 years. Bud Billiken. Next Saturday, back to school picnic and parade, 40 years. I am so delighted to be working with a young woman, Miss Cynthia Williams. We have been doing this now together for 38 years. For 38 years, they've been putting on the Taste of Austin. And for 40 years, I've been putting on the annual back to school picnic and parade. And lately, it's been in conjunction with a lot of other people. The Bright Institute, which is named after a woman named Nola Bright, the Chicago West Side Branch NAACP, Sankofa Safe Child Initiative, a young woman named Annetta Wilson who organized it, started it, runs it, and they have a building on Roosevelt Road where grandparents raising grandchildren live. We invite all of the homeless children, all of the foster children, all of the children who don't know where their parents are, and all of the parents who don't know where their children are. We invite all of these individuals to come and join with us on August the 17th at Columbus Park, where we will have fun and frolic, where we will have hot dogs and watermelons and broiled corn, roasted corn, and peanuts, and every other kind of thing that you can think of. We are going to have those things. But the whole idea is not so much eating watermelon or eating hot dogs, but the real deal is zeroing in on education. Education is the key. Education is the key. If you are educated, nobody can take that away from you. And so we want you to have fun, enjoy August, but get ready, because September is coming. We want to thank all of you for listening. We want to thank all of our viewers, everybody who called in, everybody who is a part and watch this show and these activities every week. It is really fun communicating with people. I've had a great time doing town halls all month. We have 2 more coming up next week, and we're going to be doing those, and we'll just keep opening the door for people to express themselves and say what's on your mind. Thank you so much for listening. I look forward to seeing everybody in the morning at the Bud Billiken Parade. We'll see you then. Thank you. Have a great weekend and a great week.